Hello, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Toomer Talks show. I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer. I'm the founder of Total Weight Care Institute and the host of this show. So, welcome. And we're going to talk a little bit about the truth of health. So, sometimes the truth hurts, and unfortunately, that may happen today. But I mean, really, it's not that bad. I'm just going to talk about the things that are really important for us to pay attention to, and sometimes the little untruths and the little lies we tell ourselves to kind of get around the rationalizations, I should say we tell ourselves to sort of get around doing the things that are necessary in order to be healthy. And um, so I'm basically, it's more like it's not so much the health truths, but some really about the lies we tell ourselves in order to try and not always do the things that we think we're doing, or we do way too much. We do way more than what we're supposed to, or we do the wrong things, or so much of the wrong things that we end up giving up and we end up not being able to maintain whatever progress that we had. So, one of the biggest lies I hear all the time is I do XYZ and it works. It always works for me. But if you have to do it over and over and over and over again to get back to where you were, then it's not working. Meaning that if you're doing something and as soon as you stop, you lose all your progress, and you find that this happens over and over, that you cannot maintain it, that you do these things and you just can't keep it going, and you end up stopping, and then all your progress goes away, and then you start it again and your progress comes back, and then you can't maintain it and you stop it and it goes away. That's not working. That's not that's the definition of insanity, of doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. Instead, that's what that is. It's not working. Working means that you're able to do something consistently, able to pivot, you're able to adjust, you're able to do those things and then keep it going. You don't completely reverse all of your progress just because you're not able to do a little bit of what it was you were doing before. So, hello to I'm a big girl 1405. How are you? So, that's my point. It's not working if you can't maintain it. So what that means is what you're doing is not working for you. Now, it may have worked for somebody else. It may be something that works temporarily. It may be something it doesn't even work temporarily. It gets you to a certain point temporarily, but it's so intense. It is so extreme. It is so time consuming, effort consuming, sweat equity consuming that you cannot maintain it in the life that you have. Then it's not working. Better to do things halfway and forever than to do things really, really well and get really good results only temporarily. Sometimes being healthy enough is healthy. And I'm going to say that again. Sometimes being healthy enough is being healthy. So before I continue, I'm going to say, hey, Marcy from Barbados. Sorry I didn't get a chance to see you when I was there. Hi, Eat 1165. All these new names are coming up. I wonder why. Oh, well. So in order to be healthy or at your healthiest, sometimes it means being healthy enough. Healthy enough to get through your day without being tired. Healthy enough to be able to eat without any discomfort. Healthy enough to be able to eat without getting tired. Healthy enough to be able to get through your whole day and be able to sleep well at night. Healthy enough to be able to function in the ways that you need to walk in the ways that you need to work out in the ways that you need to. Because if you are aiming for healthy, which is really it's a ubiquitous place. There is no such thing as healthy, really. And that's really the truth of it. Health is a state of being that means that you're striving to do your best that you can within a given situation. And that is ongoing, that is continuous. And I hope you don't hear my dog barking in the background for some reason. He just won't stop. And I got my daughters here are not taking them outside. But anyway, so um, so sometimes just being healthy enough is being healthy. And what that means is that doing the best you can within a given situation. But if you cannot maintain it, it's not your best. If you fail at some point, I wouldn't say fail, if you falter at some point, if you fall off from what you're doing at some point, then what that means is that it is not right for you. So, Marcy says my dog's probably happy that I'm back. Probably happy that their moms are back, which are actually my daughters who are here. Um, Email switched as well. Huh. So the email, I'm not sure what that means, but dogs barking make it feel warm and friendly, like a chat with a very smart neighbor. Well, I appreciate that, but it sounds like they may have been taken care of. All right. So, but the other thing that happens is that when we do things that only work part of the way, and what that does is it creates frustration, it creates disillusionment, it creates this sense that what you're doing is not working. It's probably because you're not doing the right thing and you're avoiding the thing that will actually work. And usually that thing that's actually going to work is something that you're afraid of. And what the thing that you're actually afraid of is often some type of medication. We tend to avoid medications for treating things that are killing us. I hear all the time, I really don't want to take anything. I don't believe in taking medications. I don't believe in wanting to take things. Well, do you believe in dying? Honestly, do you believe in having other people having to take care of you when you're in your 70s rather than being able to live into your 90s and still be active? Do you believe in not being able to, wipe yourself, stand up from a chair, feed yourself, cook for yourself? Because essentially when you ignore the things that are causing your health issues and you refuse to address them head on, essentially that's what you're saying. And so not believing in medication is the same as not believing in being healthy, or not believing in the science behind what it is that is causing your issues, and may not be causing your issues now, but will cause your issues later. And one of the biggest fears I see is of medication, which is fine, I understand, but you can't have it both ways. And this is where the health truth really kicks in. You can't have it both ways. You cannot ignore the treatment while also not doing the things, the lifestyle things that may be able to take over for the medication, at least partially. Because there are things that you can do that can get you to where you need to be. It may take you more effort. It may take you a lot longer. You may falter at some point because it takes too much for you to get there, rather than taking a medication that will do some of the work for you. And it's no different than saying you want to get from point A to point B, and you have the option of walking, riding a bike, driving a car, or flying. And depending on the distance you have to go, walking may not be an option. So saying, I don't believe in flying in planes, but you're not even moving to get there, then you can't say that you're trying. Trying requires some effort. And if you're doing nothing except thinking about it, then you're not trying. You're not trying to get there. I mean, that's just the honest truth of it. And part of the reason why I kind of harp on this a lot is because I see a lot of people who have pre-diabetes, who are on the verge of diabetes, who've had gestational diabetes during pregnancy, which 50% of people end up becoming diabetic at some point. I watch people whose weight is constantly creeping up. Their fat in production is going up and up and up, which is a clear indication of some metabolic issue going on. And what they think is that all that is somehow their fault when there's some underlying issue going on. Well, it's not their fault that it's happening. It's their fault that they're not doing what's necessary to stop it. And that is the truth of the health truth. I often see and hear people talk about what's happening to them, but will not address the cause in the way that matters. And so, you're up at 6 o'clock every morning exercising. You're up in the morning doing all these things. When you have a family history of diabetes, you have a history of gestational diabetes, you're going into menopause, you have an A1C that's over 6, and you're not addressing the very metabolic thing that's happening. And yes, exercising will help. Absolutely. Muscle work will help. Absolutely. Eating properly will help. Absolutely. But it only helps to a point. If you can reverse it, then that's absolutely wonderful. But if you can't, and then you can't maintain the activities to keep you there because it's just simply too much work, then avoiding medication is actually killing you. It's not helping in any way. And so that is where the health truth comes in. Sometimes you have to do things that are hard, which is fine, but sometimes you have to do things that are easy. You shouldn't avoid things that are easy just because you're afraid of what it is that you have to do, especially when it's medication. Medications, and this isn't something like, oh, I'm pushing this medication because I'm a doctor. No, medications have been studied. A lot of what people are doing naturally are just mimicking the medications that have already been tested. They're mimicking the medications that have already been vetted by taking something that hasn't been vetted, that hasn't been regulated. And yes, it works temporarily, but you also don't know what else it's doing. And then there's another truth of it. As someone who has lost over 100 pounds, and I am not being one of those with quote unquote born again thin people. I'm just, because they're just as, that's what I call them anyway. These people who lose weight and tell everybody else, well, I did it, so you can do it too. Or I did it this way, and so you should do it that way too. I'm not one of those. However, I've been studying for years and years and watching people, some people who, one, take GLP-1 medications who are very successful with it, but aren't doing anything else except taking the medication and expecting that means they're healthier. That means they've lost some fat, but it doesn't mean they're healthier. Because if you're simply focusing on weight loss and you're not focusing on muscle gain as well, then the process isn't as healthy as it should be. You might be healthier than where you were when you were heavier, when you had more fat in your body, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily healthy. It doesn't mean you've protected yourself against heart disease completely. You haven't completely protected yourself against dementia. You haven't completely protected yourself from all the issues of weight-bearing joints or the inflammatory markers that fat cells give off. And so, yes, you're healthier, but you haven't reached you still need to focus on some of the things that will get you beyond that point. And sometimes when you get to a certain point, it takes more work to get beyond there. And that includes movement. If you're on a health journey and you're not moving most days of the week, you're fooling yourself. And that's just the truth of it. Now, you may be doing more than what you were before, and that's wonderful. And that will work up to a point. But at some point, you're going to have to increase in order to maintain where you are. And so this is where I always talk about the 5 M's. In order to be healthy, you've got to pay attention to your meals. If you're eating processed food, and you're not eating a lot of protein, and you're not maintaining your fluids, and you're not managing your carbohydrates in some way, then your meals aren't doing you any good. So that's the one way for your meals to help you get healthy. Then movement slash muscle every single day, at least most days of the week. If you're doing those things most days of the week, as much as you can on any given day, then yes, you are trying to be healthy. But if you're not doing that, we can rationalize it. We can tell ourselves we are. But at the same time, maybe it's just enough to be healthy enough. Because again, do I want to be a marathon runner when I'm 90? No, I'm not a marathon runner now. But I do want to be 90 and be actually like my mother at 90, who's moving around, able to bathe herself, brush her own teeth, go to the bathroom, enjoys watching television, does her puzzles. Those are the things that you can do as you're getting older, but the work has to be put in now, and it has to be consistent. The other is mood. Ignoring mood issues is the same as ignoring your health. Pretending that life is fine when it isn't, not addressing stress daily, ignoring when there are consistent issues with people and relationships in every single situation you're in, be it at work, be it at home, be it with, friends. If you're having conflict everywhere you go, the problem isn't everybody else. And you need to understand what the bottom line is and what the cause of all of that is. And if it's a mood issue, then addressing that mood issue through therapy, through medication, or both. But also dropping cortisol, dropping the stress hormone, like I mentioned before, box breathing, Pilates, yoga, meditation, prayer, writing, journaling, gratitude journaling, all of those things help. And if maintaining your mental health is health, and it requires doing something daily in order for that to happen. The other is and one of them is in medication. If your body needs correcting and you don't have the time, the energy, the knowledge, the wherewithal to do all the things that are necessary without medication, then it makes more sense to use medication to protect yourself from the damage that the disease is doing while you work on the other things. One of the things I see a lot is that when it comes to weight management, weight is a metabolic process. When we have obesity or when overweight, it is related to a metabolic process. It is caused by a metabolic process. And that is why it's required. Things that affect that metabolic process are required to reverse it. Now, weight in and of itself is not a problem. Being overweight in and of itself wouldn't be a problem, except fat in our body acts like its own organ. It puts out inflammatory markers. It puts out hormones that causes problems. It puts out chemicals that cause cancer. It puts out chemicals that cause mood disorders, that causes heart disease, that cause dementia. So it's not because it's about looking a certain way, or feeling a certain way. It's about being a certain way that's healthy. And the more fat you lose, the healthier you get, as long as it's done in a healthy way. And the most healthy way of doing that is by addressing it metabolically. And the easiest way of doing that is with medication. And that is the truth. And there are a lot of people out there avoiding it, hoping that they can do things now to reverse it. And like I've always said, whatever you're doing now, you have to be able to maintain when you're 90, Otherwise, all the effort that you're putting in now is going to reverse as soon as you're no longer able to do it. And there's one thing that can be done consistently for the rest of your life, and that is treatment. And that's the truth. So the first thing to do is decide, what is health to you? What is mental health? What is social health? What is biological health? How important is it to you? And at what level do you feel it's necessary for you to be? What sacrifices are you willing to make in order to get there? Do you want to be at your ultimate health, which technically we don't even know what that is? Or do you just want to be healthy enough? And what I find is a lot of people aren't even trying to be healthy enough. They give the appearance of being healthy, or they focus on something that thinks it represents health, like weight loss. Weight loss is not necessarily healthy. I mean, people who take drugs lose weight. So weight loss in and of itself is not just healthy. It's how it's done, it's why it's done, and it's where you lose it. And it's not really weight loss, it's fat loss. That's the most important. So those are the things I would like to tell people if I didn't care about hurting your feelings. So people are like, I feel attacked. Well, I know that because I feel like I'm attacking myself because I know better. I don't exercise every single day. I don't even do movement every single day. Take walks every day, which I should. I'm saying these things not just to you, I'm saying them to myself as well. I can fool myself into saying, yes, I want to be healthy. Yes, I want to be mobile when I'm 90. Yes, I want to be all these things, but I've got to do the stuff that's required in order to do those things. And that means protecting my heart, protecting my brain, protecting my muscles, protecting my bones, and eating in a way, moving in a way, meditating in a way that allows all those things to happen. So again, so if you have any questions about anything, if you're just like, Dr. Toomer, what soapbox are you on today? Well, I'm on one, but that's another story for another day. Ask your questions. I'm here. And I'm just going to go through some of the comments. I'm going to say hi to Marcy. I'm not sure why the names are all changing today, but anyway. Let me see here. Dog barking makes it, yeah. Well, I hope it does make it feel like well, they seem to have stopped, so someone must have taken him outside. Hello, Venus. Um, Marcy said, I would like to be able to look after myself even up to the age of 90 and up. And that is absolutely possible. There are people who live on their own and they're well in their 90s. But what that requires, and almost one thing that is consistent, and this is something I see a lot in people who are able to take care of themselves, who are absolutely active, they are not overweight. As soon as you start adding weight to weight-bearing joints, you wear them down to the point where the older you get, the less mobile you're going to be. And that's just a fact. That's not even, I'm not trying to fat shame. I'm not doing anything. I include myself in that. The things that allow you to move when you're older is not having to move as much weight when you do move. I want to be able, my goal in life is to stay healthy enough so that I go peacefully in my sleep, or like my grandmother did. Although she was too young, she was 76, and I hope to live beyond that, but she was exercising. She was very much mobile, very sharp, very much with it. And I would, dementia is hard on everybody around, even the person who has dementia, because there's a point where you recognize when it's happening, and it's a very scary place to be. I don't want to be there. And so my health focus is making sure that I'm in a place where I don't have to rely on other people to do the things that I need to do in order to live my life, and then go peacefully in my sleep. That is my goal. Preferably when I'm in my 90s or older. Cool. Because that is very possible. I mean, my mother's 95, and I plan on living at least as long as she does, or she has. Um, Marcy says, thanks for the attacks because they're making perfect sense since we want to maintain good health as we age. Um, and that is true. And it's like, and it's not even so much the health truth that you don't want to hurt our feelings. It's often if we don't want to hurt our own feelings. If we tell ourselves the truth, I mean, come on, sometimes we just tell ourselves things to kind of make ourselves feel better. But in the long run, we're going to feel worse. Patty says, at least I walk every day, but I love to eat and can't seem to lose 10 pounds. Well, Patsy, do you need to lose 10 pounds or do you simply want to lose 10 pounds? See, that's the thing. It's important to lose 10 pounds if you're having difficulty with your knees, your hips, your ankles. It's important to lose 10 pounds and not even so much 10 pounds in just to be losing 10 pounds, but it's important to lose fat if it's through your middle, because that's metabolic fat gain. That what that means is you have extra visceral fat, which is fat around your organs, which makes your organs less efficient, and therefore your long-term health is being affected. So it's not just the 10 pounds, it's where those 10 pounds sit that matters. If it's simply that you just want to be 10 pounds lighter, you may not need to be. Even loving to eat is not a problem. It's what you eat that matters and how you eat it. Because having a good appetite is not an issue. In fact, that's often a precursor to having strong muscle and bones, because that means you're getting enough of your nutrients. It also means that your metabolism isn't suffering. So, walking every day is wonderful for mental health. It, depending on where you walk and how you walk, is really good for mobility. It's really good for muscle maintenance. But it's also really important that you build muscle. So even as you're walking up and down hills matters. Or doing lunges in between, like walking a certain number of steps and then doing some squats, and then walking some more steps and doing some squats. Building leg muscles, having leg strength is extremely important in independence later in life. And so, and then like I said, eating's not a problem. Eating is actually a self-care mechanism. Not eating is a problem, but eating isn't. And it's just how you eat and what you eat and when. Monique Meyer says, good evening, Dr. Toomer. I was curious about what suggestions you have for someone transitioning from a calorie deficit to maintenance. Okay. So calorie deficit I'm not a big fan of calorie deficit, to be honest, mainly because it is just another term for starvation. Most of us who need to lose weight are not overweight because we overeat. It's because our body takes certain types of food and turns it to fat more efficiently than it does for some other people. And that's usually carbohydrates. So it's not so much that you have to go from calorie deficit. It's just simply that you have to make sure that those calories are primarily protein and vegetables and not carb heavy. So that's really how you maintain whatever weight you've lost, is to keep your meals protein and vegetable forward and manage carbs along with that. You don't eliminate carbs because your body still needs them and your brain still needs them. But you just make sure that it's the least amount or least part of any given meal. And that's how you go into maintenance, and you maintain whatever it is that you've done. And then if you have appetite issues that are suddenly coming out of nowhere, usually that's stress related. And so you just need to determine what is the stressor, try to manage it, and then work on reducing that stress, reducing the cortisol, so that your body stops reacting and telling you to eat. And you go pushing you into fight or flight mode and then telling you to eat. Patsy says, no, I feel great with an hourglass figure at 70. Then why are you trying to lose 10 pounds? Don't lose them. Hold on to them. Enjoy your curves. I mean, they're really, like I said, if that 10 pounds isn't sitting in your middle, don't worry about it. And if if you're walking every day and you're feeling great, then enjoy it. Just enjoy it. And don't worry about the number on a scale. So, so your goals for everybody else. For the most part, I eat healthy and I'm mindful not to overeat. Well, there you go. I mean, so basically what I'm hearing you say, Patsy, is that you are healthy. I mean, there's nothing you have to do other than to maintain what it is you're already doing. Um, One of the issues we run into often, and this happens a lot with health and wellness in the health and wellness space, we're sort of convinced, we convince everyone that something's wrong with us and that there's always something that needs to be fixed. And that's not always the case. There isn't, sometimes it's like, yes, but, of course, if you're a person who's driven and you're a person who is always trying to improve, you think, what can I do better? And that's okay as long as you don't feel like there's something wrong with you, as long as you're not putting yourself down in any kind of way. And so if you are enjoying your life, you're able to do all the things you need to do, you're eating well, you're moving daily, and you feel good and you have good relationships with people that are around you, that is health. Bio, psycho, social. If you're physically able to do all the things you need to do, you are feeling good and feeling happy, and you're not having a problem with you yourself, how you view yourself and how you view your life. And then 3, how you interact with other people around you. If you have good support group, you have good friends, you enjoy your job and all those things, you have good colleagues. That is what health is. Biologically, psychologically, and socially, in a space where you are able to function in a way that matters to you and that feels good to you. And that is being healthy. That's not even being healthy enough. That's being healthy. So I would say, Patsy, ignore the 10 pounds. There's nothing wrong. And if you're mindful to not overeat, then that's really all you can do. And that's the other, mindfulness really matters. It really does. I live in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and love walking and working out. Thank you for your support. Lawrenceville, from what I understand, is a wonderful walking space. They have lots of communities where you can walk around. You have lots of sidewalks and places to walk, and wonderful neighborhoods to live in that have a lot of places to walk, from what I understand. I know a lot of people in Lawrenceville who walk a lot. I mean, they just walk every morning and they do a lot walking. And from what I understand, it must be a wonderful walking environment, walking communities. So, um, but I mean, honestly, what I would recommend, Patsy, also is not so much. I know people always say like evangelical, health evangelicals. Not so much that, but just sharing your experiences with other people, or if you want to, inviting other people to join you. Because I think sometimes people are aren't so much afraid of, they just don't know where to start, I guess is the best way of putting it. And sometimes having someone help them along at that beginning part is very, very helpful. So, any other questions? No? Well, if you think of any questions later, I'm going to put here you can email me at help@drtoomer.com. I do monitor that email, and you can write to me there, or if you want to schedule a consultation with me, or so that I can create a strategy and a plan for you around your health and wellness and your weight management, you can also write to me there. Or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, which is youtube.com/@drtoomer. And so same as it says drtoomer.com, I'm that place everywhere. So if you want more information, you can always subscribe and write to me there. I see that there's So Patsy, I lead a walking group at my church for our women's ministry too. Wonderful. That is, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So that is what you call social health. And you know, that's what you do. And so healthiness and health can manifest in lots of different ways. It's not the same for everybody. It really isn't. And so that is a wonderful way to help your community, to help yourself. And, you know, because you're kind of, you know, you're getting your own exercise in while also helping other people. That is wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Kim says, thank you, Dr. Toomer. Very actionable tip. I'm glad. Again, but if you can either come back to this video or you can watch other videos that I have in my YouTube channel. And again, you can write to me at help@drtoomer.com if you have any questions. So if there's nothing else, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. I'll be here again next Tuesday at Dr. Toomer Talks at 6 p.m. live. And there will be some changes through the end of December just because of the holidays. Things shift around, but I'll be back, you know, bright and, as they say, bright and bushy-tailed in January. So thank you for coming, and I will see you again next week. Good night.